The time is 1:30 p.m. Do a quick roll call. I believe Ms. Zalatel's absent, but Mr. Constance, you'll be taking over for her.
Sir, I'm here for her today as the alternate.
All right, great. And we have Mr. Weddleton on the line.
I am here.
Good afternoon, John. And Mr. Schutte.
Here, present.
Okay, and Cindy Heil, you here today? Cindy, I see your name. You're on mute though, so.
Oops, sorry. Yes, I am.
Okay, there you are. Great. All right, well, we have a quorum. So, Craig, will you please do the public involvement announcements for today?
Yes, sir. AMATS committee meetings are open to the public, and the public is provided an opportunity to comment at each meeting. With the business item, we'll have presentation by staff or consultant, and after that, the committee will be given a chance to discuss it. And then after that, we will go to our Teams Live, and again, 30 to 40 second lag for waiting for that. So we'll check there and make sure if we have any members of the public there wanting to talk, we're good to go.
All right, thank you, Craig. You always do that with such flair. I appreciate it.
Better get it after 17 years, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 3, approvals of the agenda. Do we have an approval of the agenda today?
This is Schutte. Move to approve.
Second, Constant.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and seconded. Do we have any changes to the agenda as stated?
Mr. Chair, briefly, I would love to hear if there's an update on the implementation of the contract for the PL for the Glenda Seward. I don't need much detail, just a status report.
We will see if we can get that for you, Mr. Constance. And James Starzek, I see you're on the line. Maybe you can scrape together something for informational brief later on. Okay,
sure, we'll do.
All right, are there any objections to the adopting the agenda as shown? Okay, well, Mr. Constance, we will get that information item for you. And hearing no objections, the agenda is approved. Before we move on, Craig, I assume we can just go ahead and add that as an informational update item for Mr. Constance on the Pell update.
Yeah, that's no problem adding informational report real quick.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay. Well, we've approved the agenda. Let's move on to item number 4. We have before us the minutes from the December 17th, 2020 for approval.
Move to approve.
All right, we have a move to approve. Do I have a second?
Schutte, second.
All right, I'll motioned and Schutte second. Any changes or discussion? All right, hearing none. Any objections to approving the minutes? Okay, hearing none. The December 17th, 2020 minutes are approved. All right, moving briskly on to action item 5. Start with action item 5A, the Citizens Advisory Committee seat nomination. Craig, will you be presenting today?
Yes, sir. One of the positions on the AMATS Citizens Advisory Committee is a representative from our Municipal Planning and Zoning Commission. Brian Looney with CRW was a very helpful member on both P&Z and on the AMATS Citizens Advisory Committee for quite a while. His time on P&Z is over, so he is no longer able to serve as the P&Z rep on the CAC. We reached out to the P&Z and they were, Mr. Jim Winchester was interested in helping out. You can see his bio, a brief bio there. He works for Anchorage Sand and Gravel now. He's got a long career in Alaska. So he is their suggestion for the CAC seat for the P&Z. TAC 2 weeks ago recommended his approval to you folks.
All right, thank you, Craig. Any questions or comments from the committee on this nomination?
Well, if you manage the fly-by-night club, that's pretty high praise there.
Oh, okay. We'll send some reference checks to Mr. Whitekeys just to make sure. All right. Any other comments or questions from the committee on this nomination? Okay. We'll move to the public comments. Any comments from the public? Please remember you have 3 minutes to speak, and please identify yourself at the beginning. Any
I'll start the
questions?
clock now. I've asked for public comments.
I'm sorry, what was that, Christine?
In the chat, I've asked if there are any public comments on this item, so I'll start the 30-second clock now.
All right, thank you.
There are no public comments.
Okay. Seeing no public comments, what is the will of the committee?
Move to approve, Weddleton.
Second, Constant.
Okay, Mr. Weddleton, Mr. Constance, thank you. Any objections to approving the motion? All right, hearing none, the motion is approved. Okay, Craig, we're moving on to item 5B, AMATS 2019 to 2022 Transportation Improvement Program, or known as the TIP, Amendment Number 2, Air Quality Conformity Public Release. Craig, are you going to be providing information today? You're on mute, Craig.
I did not mute that. That somehow muted me beyond my control. So the TIP, every TIP, every MTP, et cetera, needs an air quality conformity determination to make sure, again, in layman's terms, it does not pollute does not degrade the air quality too much. And so this is the determination that the interagency consultation team got together and created, and it looks like we're okay. I'll follow my sword on this one. I did not see this in my inbox when it was sent to me late January, and just the back and forth between working at home and here, I missed it. So, but we are ready to have this released so we can start the 30-day public review of both this and the amendment. So it is before you today. 2 weeks ago, the TAC recommended the release as well.
All right, thank you, Craig. Are there any questions or comments from the committee on this action item?
So we're just releasing this for public comment, correct?
We are indeed releasing the air quality conformity determination for public comment in conjunction with the TIP itself, the amendment itself, I should say.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions?
This is Cindy. I'm glad it's going out.
All right. Any last minute questions or comments from the community before we go to the public comment? Okay, hearing none. Christine, if you would go ahead and start the 30-second clock for public comment. Again, they have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay. There are no public comments.
All right, thank you, Christine. Okay, so no public comment. What is the will of the committee regarding this motion? That's right.
Move to release the air quality conformity determination for the amendment 2 for public notice.
All right. Thank you, Cindy.
Second, Weddleton.
John, moved and seconded. Are there any objections to approving the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Thank you, everyone. All right, Craig, moving on to, I guess we don't have any project or plan updates. Unless, Craig, you think we ought to do the Pell update under this category?
I guess if we're ready, we could do it now. If not, it can go after the OB report
Okay, so
to James.
James, are you ready to maybe give a little information or update on the Pell for Seward to Glen?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and do that?
Yeah, through the chair, James Starzyk, DOT AMATS planner. The contract, they have selected a contractor for that project. HDR has been selected. They're currently finalizing negotiations on the final proposal. They expect that to be wrapped up within the next few business days. The contract will be executed very soon. And then they'll be off and running. Their first step, their first task is to create a comprehensive communications plan for the project. They're going to be completing that before they even do the kickoff meeting. So it's something that's well on their minds. And yeah, so things are moving forward, and we should be seeing some out-facing communications soon.
Thank you. I was mostly just concerned about when that contract's getting signed, because I'm confident HDR will do a very robust process of getting the word out. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions for James on this project update? Okay. And Craig, I'm not seeing on my notes. Should we ask for the public comment or questions on this one as well?
We typically do on any items.
Okay. Well, Christine, we want to give a 30-second clock if there's any questions on the planning environmental linkage study for the Seward to Glen Highway connection.
Sure, I'll start it now.
Thank you.
There are no public comments.
All right, thank you, Christine. Okay, moving on to agenda item 7A, general information, the COVID relief funding. Craig, who will be presenting on this today?
I will do a quick informational update. I don't remember if I mentioned this to you folks before. I know I mentioned it to TAC, but there was some COVID relief funding that was passed by Congress fairly recently, which will bring to the AMATS area about, gosh, what was it, 11.294 million. It's an additional 113, I believe, to anywhere else in the state. And two things to keep in mind: it's the same sort of funding that we've gotten previously, except for it does not have a required match. In addition, you've heard me say over and over again that the funds that we have at AMATS, can't be used for maintenance and operations. It can only be used for projects and plans, etc. Well, this funding does not have that does not have that stipulation, so it can be used for preventative maintenance, routine maintenance, operations, salaries, etc. So it has a much easier way to be used for all sorts of purposes. We are still waiting on guidance from FHWA on how those funds are to be allocated, whether or not they come down to an MPO to decide, or whether they're to the state to decide. So we don't have that information yet. We have some information from the House committee that drafted it that talks about it using the same guidelines that the rest of the funds, the AMATS allocation goes through, but we don't have any guidance yet from FHWA. But we have until, I believe, September of 2024 to utilize these funds, so we got some time on it. But just wanted folks to know about that, and we'll see what happens, whether or not it's something we need to decide on here at AMATS, or whether it's something that'll just need to be reflected in the tip when the state decides it. So just letting folks know.
All right, thank you, Craig. Any questions of Craig from the committee?
Yeah, Welton, that's a huge amount of money. Wow. So we got some before. What was the process for deciding how to spend it?
So this funding that we're getting, well, what it says is it specifically goes to urbanized areas with a population over 200,000. So obviously it comes to the in this state, it only comes to the Anchorage area. It's 11.2 million. We've never really gotten these types of funds before, so there hasn't been a process before.
Wow.
Okay,
Okay,
the other times we had stimulus funds, or a decade or so ago, they came through the state, but these we just don't know yet. There hasn't been guidance from FHWA issued yet, so hard to know exactly how it goes out.
All right, any other questions for Craig from the committee on this subject?
I have one.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. Craig, I don't know if this is something that will fall into the purview of AMATS or Muni only, or where it falls, but we've had long conversations about connecting the, I guess it's the Campbell Creek Trail under Lake Otis, over Lake Otis somehow, so that we can kind of end the impact, the kind of conflict between pedestrians and cars trying to cross Lake Otis to stay on that trail system. Is that a project that falls under AMATS?
So that is a project that is in our MTP. It's also in our draft non-motorized plan, and I'm sure it was in the previous non-motorized plan. I mean, I know it was. So it would be something, that connection over Lake Otis there. The requirement of this funding is that it has to be in your plans already. Well, not already, but it needs to be in the plans in order to utilize it. That's not a project that's in the tip right now, so it'd have to be amended into the tip to do. But again, as I said, we have until September 2024, so should be able to get that done if that's what the policy committee wanted to do.
Awesome, because it's one of those projects that's perennial, and there's no real big state capital grants anymore to get things like that going, and this might be one that could help to spark something. But thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And John Linnell, I think like you got your hand up.
I do. Thank you, Wolf. Craig, I just forwarded you an email that I got earlier this morning that has some guidance from FHWA. I've only skimmed it really briefly. One of the things that I did pick up out of it, though, is roads that are classified as local. So, real low volume type roads. It appears that it's not eligible for funding on those roads. And there's a whole bunch more in there. But anyways, I just sent you an email, so you should have a chance to look at that.
I see that now. Yes, I'm trying to zip through it on my phone real quick, but I guess I know what I'll be doing the rest of today.
Could you also forward that out?
I will.
Thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
All right, thanks, John. Any other questions or comments on the COVID relief funding update from the committee?
I have one more, just that this is Mr. Constant again. Stay tuned, because the American Rescue Plan is also moving forward, and there might be a part 2 to this conversation.
All right, standing by. Thanks, Chris. Okay, we'll flip over to public comment on this general information item. Christine, if you would, for 30 seconds, please.
I'll start it now.
Thank you.
There are no public comments.
All right, thank you, Christine. Okay, moving on, general information item 7B. AMATS FFY 21 first quarter project obligation report. Craig, sounds exciting. Why don't you let us know what's going on?
It is as per usual. The first quarter is the time when we need to be within 15% plus or minus of what we have shown in the tip. And so if I look at, can you scroll back up just a little bit, Christine? Sorry. I want to show the columns there. So you can see that in column B, it talks about what is in the current tip for funding. And then it says what was actually obligated through the end of that first quarter. So in the case of O'Malley Road, we had programmed 12.9 million and 9.4 of that has been obligated already. It suggests that another 2 million will be obligated for a total of 11.4. So a little bit less than what we had planned, but that's how the columns work there. And then if you scroll down for me, please, you can see the dollar figures at the bottom there. The numbers showing we're had 23 and change, 23.3, and so far we've obligated about half of that. So we have some more to go, obviously. And if you can scroll down to the non-motorized there. And so you can see we are looking at a 2.6 with only 382,000 of that. I think folks are kind of aware we're working on that downtown trail connection between the the coastal trail over to the Ship Creek Trail. So we're working on ironing out some kinks in that to make sure that is within our budget and it's going to go. So that's a chunk of what we are trying to get done there. You can see our Cmac projects, where most of our studies and plans, and the Cmac below that, studies and plans above it, tracking fairly well. And if you go to the last page, you'll see that we are plus or minus, in this case, minus 4.64%. And again, we have to be plus or minus 15, so we're tracking just fine. As far as I know, I haven't heard that we are concerned about any of those projects not going to where we have to move a whole bunch of stuff around. So if you have questions, I'm sure between the brain trust we have between myself and DOT, we can get them answered. That's it.
Any questions from the committee on this one? All right, Mr. Starzak, or wait a minute. We'll start with the committee first. Any questions from the committee on this item? Okay, James, did you have something to add for the information for the committee?
I did, yes. Through the chair, James Starzak again. I just wanted to point out that the column on the far left, it reflects what is currently programmed for the tip through admin mod 4. The column on the far right, which is the anticipated obligation deobligation column, those figures reflect our best understanding of the project manager's needs for the upcoming year. And the difference of those two need to be reconciled either through an additional administrative mod or amendment so that we can properly program and obligate those funds. So just wanted to kind of just put that out there so that anybody looking at this might think, why these columns aren't in line with each other. That would be the reason.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, James. Okay, any follow-up questions from the committee? All right, hearing none and seeing no digital hands raised. Christine, if you would, a 30-second clock for public comment on the tip mod.
Starting now.
Thank you.
There are no public comments.
All right, thank you, Christine. Okay, Craig, I think that wraps up item 7B. If there's no further general information, we'll move on to item 8, committee comments. General comments from the committee. Is there anything for the good of the order that folks would like to, from the committee would like to comment on now?
Yeah, Mr. Constant here.
Yes, Chris.
So I have two things. I actually just received an email right this minute from the National League of Cities, which I serve on the Transportation and Infrastructure Services Committee. And in it, they note that the NLC has been asked what they call a feedback fire drill, or DOT, is in all bold, how quickly cities may be able to expend transportation capital funds for projects. And so they're looking to understand your top immediate transportation priorities. They want them in a survey, and I can forward this to the staff. How much funding is needed and how long it would take to spend the capital out based on priorities and any caveats, concerns, considerations related to local revenues and reserves being down. It states we can assume that these would be directed funds to your MPO. No state obligation issues, and they would address some workforce training in the beginning to not artificially inflate construction costs. So anyhow, I'm going to be involved in that. I will forward this to Craig. He can help me and kind of coordinate with you, Wolfgang, to make sure that we're all thinking in similar lines. And then the second point to that is you may have heard that Senator Sullivan, in the confirmation of the Secretary of Transportation, got a commitment that he would visit Alaska. And so I'm working and I have been engaged with the Senator's office, with the Department of Transportation through alternative pathways to ensure that there's a visit to Anchorage with meaningful time to see our local infrastructure. And so just wanted to bring people up to speed on that and make sure that folks through AMATS, the regional MPO for the largest region of the state of Alaska, are prepared should the Secretary of Transportation arrive and we have an opportunity to be persuasive.
Good information. Thank you, Mr. Constant. Okay, any other items of interest for the committee? Okay, I've got a couple quick ones for the committee. My deputy, Diana Rockus, is retiring at the end of April. Most of you might be aware that John Linnell will be taking her place. John currently serves on the TAC, but his role, since he moves on, will no longer be in that capacity. We've selected Luke Boland as John's replacement as the pre-construction engineer for Central Region for DOT. So Luke Boland will begin taking over in April officially for John's duties on the TAC. So Craig, we might want to start looping Mr. Boland into these things. Okay, just a couple other side notes. Representative Sponholtz from East Anchorage has asked for a meeting on AMATS on Monday. I don't know, Craig, if you would care to join in on that or not. I have no idea really what she wants to talk about. I think the general subject was AMATS planning.
I'm happy to join in.
Okay, I will forward that invitation to you and you can represent, help in that conversation with Representative Sponholtz. It's at Monday at 1:30, I believe. So I will forward that to you.
Okay.
Also, there was a proposed bill by Representative Gillum out of Kenai to change the name of the Glen Highway to something else. I think he was looking for a nice way to honor our Representative Don Young and all his years of service. We think we handed an estimate of $2 million to change the over 200 signs between Anchorage and Glen Allen, but with the caveat that didn't do anything for the city of Anchorage, the city of Palmer, the Matsu Borough, the Department of Defense, or any other agency like the Postal Service that would be involved in a name change like that. So we think we've redirected Representative Gillum to rename the new Cooper Landing Bypass Bridge after Don Young, but more to follow on that. But I want to give you a heads up that there was a move afoot to rename the Glen Highway. So other than that,
get the congressman to change his name and save a lot of money.
yeah, I think originally we thought part of it came from the fact that I guess the gentleman that the Glen Highway was named after had a little bit of a, there was an article that claimed that he was a war criminal back from 1903, and that maybe naming it after Don Young would be more appropriate. But it would not be a federal project, so the state would have to cough up $2 million plus and get everybody else to agree with it. So I think we moved on. So we'll see. All right. Before we leave this, any last minute comments from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Any public comments? And Christine will give you 30 seconds for public comment in general.
There are no public comments.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing further, do I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
Move to adjourn. This is Heil.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Chris Schutte, you've been pretty silent today.
Just enjoying the show. Thank you.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, excellent. All right, unless there are any objections to approving the motion, and I hear none, the motion is approved and the meeting is adjourned at 2:02 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. Have a great day.